So I was not born, but raised in the shadow of Washington Cathedral. Our house was right there where those trees are. Many of you have heard me say this before, including in this space, that I learned at age 6 or 7 that three-dimensional space is capable of being conversant in and expressing deep human meaning and emotion. I was more interested in the light and the sound and the shape and the colors than I was in the biblical narratives, although they weren't unimportant to me. But another thing that I was thinking about this past week is in the crypt, the basement, if you will, there are 5 chapels, and at various times, various different faiths worshipped in these spaces. Greek Orthodox, Roman National Catholic, and different groups, as they were building their congregation and building eventually their own churches. And so coming here was curiously flashing back to learning about these other faiths. When I was a kid, I would go down and smell the incense and listen to these strange chants and things that I knew nothing about, but came to appreciate. And so here I am, the Protestant preacher's kid that I am, surrounded by this lovely congregation that I now have friends in, and I'm very grateful for that. The mission, as I understood it, was put something in the circle. My immediate response was, maybe not. Maybe in several elements in the parking lot, and Barbara and the committee put up with the maybe not, but eventually I saw the truth and the wisdom. Yes, we're going to have to do something with the circle where there was once the beloved tree, which is now a bigger circle so that cars can actually drive around it. And I came to realize, yes, the piece needs to be on a pedestal, which is not my normal inclination, in the middle of a circle. So I set about thinking, well, what does this thing need to be? And at a fairly early age, college-ish, I encountered the phrase, a thin place, which is usually associated with the northern British Isles, where the spirit world and the world of humans become, that membrane of separation becomes a little thinner, and we hear the Spirit. And sure enough, whether it was sort of psychosomatic or not, but when I went to the Standing Stones with my maybe not yet wife at that point, I felt those voices. I felt the Spirit. And I also curiously feel that in our lovely southern landscape, where often the man-made tobacco barns on the edge of the field somehow become, for me anyway, another thin place that's right around our vanishing Piedmont, but it's still around. And of course, the Bible is full of stories about thin places, such as Jacob. Why he went to sleep on a rock, I'll never know, but he did. And during that night, his dream was that angels came and spoke to him. I would say that rock is a thin place. And really, temples and churches and places where we worship are, or at least ought to be, thin places. So that was the basis of what to do here, that it needed to speak of being a thin place.